here the value will be this you have found out. I'll be just recalculating it. This is 1 divided by 1.14 is equal to multiplied by 550. It is 371.23. This is 371.23. Is it alright? And the total answer will be 371.23 plus 35.56. Is it alright? This is 97407.79. Is it all? So what is the valuation of this particular share of Tata is 407.79. Is it all? So let me just rub this. 477.79. Now understand, in third scenario, the market price of Tata is exactly 407.79. Should you purchase or sell this share? It is exactly priced. See, if someone tells you to purchase this share, you should purchase because your intrinsic value is 407.79. Your market price is 407.79. If you purchase this share, you are exactly getting 14%. That is nothing but your required rate of return. If you will find out NPV will be 0. Whenever NPV is 0, that means you are getting your required rate of return. In stock market, you will neither purchase, you will neither sell. It is exactly priced, so you will hold this share. Is it all right? This type of share you should hold it. Is it all right? So here we have taken underpriced, here we have taken overpriced, here we have taken market as exactly priced as per our intrinsic value, and these three sums will become base of our valuation. Otherwise, valuation concept is only this: present value of future cash flows. Is it all right? So this is valuation of security. Today we are going to commence some of the questions of valuation of security. This questions I've already sent you in PDF. It is advisable you just take print out of that PDF. If you are calculating along with me, it is well and good. Otherwise, this all calculation, as I told you, at the end of the chapter, I am going to give you as a PDF. So let us start with the second question. Is it all right? Let me take third question. Third question is somewhat easy. All right, let me start first with third question. It is C 1.1.3. See, in the compilation which I have given, C denotes this classwork. 1 is chapter number 1, category number 1. I have divided all the points into category, and sum number 3. Is it all right? So this is category number, this is chapter number, this is sum number, and C means classwork. I have divided classwork and homework. Is it all right? Let us start with the share. MNP Limited has declared and paid an annual dividend of 4 per share. So already declared, I'll be treating it as D0, is 4 rupees. It is expected to grow at 20%. So what is the growth rate is 20%. For the next 2 years and 10% thereafter. So at the end of 1, 2, 3, 4, and it is going up till infinite. What is growth rate for first 2 years? Is 20%. Start. And 10% thereafter. So thereafter the growth rate is 10%. The required rate of return for equity investors. Now understand, we are valuing the shares from the equity shares point of view. What are their required rate of return is 15%. Compute the current price at which equity shares should sell. Not actually selling, you will have to see the market price. Is it alright? It should sell. What is the equilibrium price? What is the intrinsic value of the share? What are the maximum price the shareholders are ready to pay for the share? I just need to find out present value of this. As this is D0, what will be D1? 4 plus 20%, that is nothing but 4.8. Is it alright? 4.8 plus 20%. I'm not having that standard calculator which you are having, but it is 4.8 multiplied by 0.2 plus 4.8 is 5.76. Is it correct? From third year, what is the growth rate is 10%? What is the growth rate is 10%. So what will be third year's cash flow? Try to concentrate. 5.76 plus 0.576, because 0.576 is 10%. It is 6.336. And then it will grow continuously at 10%. What is the required rate of return of equity shareholders is 15%. How to value this share? Present value of future cash flows. So if you understand how to find out present value, you can easily do this sum. How to find out this first two questions first two cash flows present value. This is into 1 divided by 1.15 raised to 1, and this is 1 divided by 1.15 raised to 2. So first 2 years the present value I can easily find out in calculator. 1 divided by 1.15 multiplied by 4.8 is equal to m plus 1 divided by 1.15 is equal to multiplied by 5.76 is equal to m plus MRC is 8.53 approximately. Is it alright? It is 8.53. It is present value for first 2 years. Let me find out present value from third year onwards. I will be using that formula of present value with growth. Is it alright? I need to do cash flow of first year divided by rate of interest minus G. Is it alright? Then I get value at the end of 0 year. I am having here value at the end of third year. Then I will be getting value at the end of second year. As simple as this. Let me use this formula and find out value at the end of second year. Cash flow of third year is 6.336. Rate of interest is 15% and growth rate is 10%. So it will be divided by 5%. It is nothing but 6.336 divided by 5%. It is 126.72. Please understand this value is value at the end of 0 year. This value is value at the end of second year. These two values cannot be added. I need to convert this value at the end of 0 year. If it is value at the end of second year, and if I discount it by 2 years, I will be getting value at the end of 0 year. This will be value at the end of 0 year. Is it alright? The answer will be 1 divided by 1.15 is equal to multiplied by 126.72 is equal to 95.81. Now, can this two be added? Yes. This is present value of first 2 years. This is present value from 3 years up till infinite. What is the total answer? 95.81 plus 8.53. This will be 104.34 rupees is nothing but a real value of the share, should be price of the share. Shareholders feels that this is an exact price of the share. This is the price which maximum they are ready to pay. This is intrinsic value of the share. Any question can be asked, answer will be 104.34. Please understand, even if it is given in the chapter of security valuation, ultimately it is nothing but present value questions. You need to understand how to find out present value. The answer will be extremely easy. It is 104.34. This was question number 1.1.3. Is it all right? Let me go to 1.1.2. The second question. A company has a book value per share of 137.80. Return on equity is 15%. So what is the book value? 137.80. Please understand, if your book value is 100 and your return on equity is 15%, that means your earning per share is 15 rupees. Is it alright? So if your book value is 137.80 and your return on equity is 15%, this is nothing but your earning per share. Is it alright? 137.80 multiplied by 15 is 20.67. Will be nothing but EPS. Is it alright? And follows a policy of retaining 60% of its annual earnings. Is it alright? So what is retention ratio? Is 60%. Then what will be dividend payout ratio? Will be 40%. What does this mean? A company is having a policy to distribute 40% of its earning and to retain 60% of its earnings. Is it right? So multiplied by 40% will be nothing but dividend per share. Is it right? So 20.67 multiplied by 40% is 8.268. Will be nothing but dividend per share. If the opportunity cost of capital, this is the same as your required rate of return, is 18%. From other sources I can earn 18%. Then for investing in this shares, minimum what I'll require is 18%. What is the price of its shares? Adopt the perpetual growth model to arrive at your solution. Is it alright? Now the question arises is whether this is D0 or D1. I am assuming it is D0. Sir, can I assume it is D1? The answer is yes. But from where I am assuming D0, try to understand. Its return on equity means I am thinking it is a past tense and this is already written which a company has earned. Is it all? See, even if you are not adopting this and treating this as D1, your answer might be different. But in CA final, you get answer based upon your valid assumption. This is my assumption that this is D0. Is it all? Then at the end of first year, second year, third year, up till infinite. Is it all right? Alright, what is the dividend for first year? For that, I need to find out growth rate. If you read the full question, there is no growth rate given. Is it alright? Now, as per Gordon's model, if you have done dividend policy, Gordon's model, try to understand that there is a formula by which you can find out the growth rate, which is nothing but B. B is nothing but retention ratio multiplied by your rate of return or return on equity. Is it alright? So what is the retention ratio? 60%. What is the return on equity? 15%. So 15 into 0.6 is 9. So 9% will be nothing but growth rate. Let me explain you logically. If every year your return on your investment or equity is 15%, you distribute 6% of your return, then what will be growing is 9%. Is it all right? And this is the logic of B into R. You can add this in your formula book. Growth rate is B. B is nothing but a retention ratio. And R can be return on investment or a return on equity. Is it all right? And I will be getting a growth rate of nothing but 9%. Is it right? So what is D0? 8.268. What will be D1? I'll have to add 9% in this. 8.268 multiplied by 9% plus 8.268. It is 9.012. 9.012 will be nothing but dividend for first year. Dividend for second year will grow at the rate of which percentage? 9%. Is it all right? Of 9%. Yes, I was just watching whether they have taken an assumption of D0 or D1. They have taken this as D1 in your suggested answer which I have given. Please understand, all these questions are institute questions. So answers are institute's answer. But never mind if your answer is different and based upon valid assumption. They have taken this as D1. We have taken it as D0. It is absolutely alright. It is not directly written whether it is D1 or D0. Is it alright? I think from the sentence you can make out that it is D0. So we have taken it as D0. So our answer will be different but is absolutely correct and will be giving you 100% of marks. Is it alright? What will be value of the share is nothing but cash flow of first year divided by rate of interest minus G. Cash flow of first year is 9.012. divided by rate of interest is 18% minus growth rate is 9%. My answer will be 9.012 divided by 9%. 9.012 divided by 9% is 100.13. This is the intrinsic value of the shares or valuation of the shares or present value of future cash flow in this particular case. Once again, you are at a level where you don't need to tally your answer of what is given. You just need to see whether your answer is matching with the book. If it is not matching, what is the reason? They have assumed this as D1. We have assumed this, they have assumed it as D1. We have assumed it as D0. It is absolutely alright. It does not make any difference. This was question number C 1.1.2. Let me go to 1.1.4. ABC Limited has been maintaining a growth rate of 10% in the dividend. The company has paid dividend at the rate of rupees 3 per share. Has given a dividend, means 3 should be taken as D0. The rate of return on the market portfolio is 12%. What is RM? I'll explain you in this particular session. The risk-free rate of return is 8%. Beta coefficient of the share is 1.5. You are required to calculate the expected rate of return on the company's shares as per CAPM model and equilibrium price per share by dividend growth model. Sorry. Please try to concentrate. First I am solving the sum and then I'll explain you this. CAPM model. Is it alright? Try to concentrate over here. Value of the share will be is equal to cash flow of first year divided by rate of interest minus G. Everything is available. What is cash flow of first year? What is cash flow of 0 year? 3 plus 10% is 3.3. So cash flow of first year will be 3.3 divided by rate of interest minus G, growth rate is nothing but 10%. What is not given is required rate of return of investor. And there is a model, capital asset pricing model. I might have explained you in intermediate, but let us do a brief revision in CA final. Again, when we'll be going to portfolio management, again I'll be having this model re-explained. That is nothing but CAPM model. First, try to concentrate. CAPM is capital asset pricing model. The thing is, what it finds out? It finds out expected rate of return. In this case, it is stock market. So expected rate of return of equity share holders. Is it all right? It finds out expected rate of return. So if I am finding out my expected rate of return, and if I want to use some scientific technique of finding out expected rate of return, this is one of them. That is nothing but CAPM, capital asset pricing model. It says expected rate of return is RF. Try to understand what is RF. What was RF in this question? 8%. RF is a risk-free rate of return. This is a rate of return which any person can earn without taking any risk. So if the risk is, say, take fixed deposit, you should take treasury bills because it is more safe, but let's take fixed deposit and it is earning 8%. Then anywhere you invest, your minimum required rate of return should be at least RF. I'm not saying it should be RF, but at least you will expect more than 8%, less than 8%. If you are taking some risk, you will expect always more than 8%. So always what you should be getting is RF plus what? Plus you should be getting your risk premium. Is it all right? So what you should logically get? Risk-free rate of return plus your risk premium. This is what you should be getting. Is it right? Now the question is how you will calculate your risk premium. Try to understand first. RM minus RF. What is RF? We know what is RM. Try to understand in this question. RM is given as 12%. Let me take it as 12%. RM is a market rate of return. Is it all right? So what is RM? 12%, which is given in the question. 12% minus 8%. Is it all right? Try to understand what is RM. The Sensex is earning 12% rate of return. Sensex is index of all the shares in the market. The market is earning 12%. So if you invest in fixed deposit, you should get 8%. If you invest in market, you should get 12%. Is it all right? It is as simple as this. So RM minus RF is 4%. If I add this RM minus RF, believe me, I started with 8%, but now 4% is added, so it will become 12%. Is it all right? And RM minus RF, try to understand, it is nothing but market risk premium. Please concentrate. When you are investing in the share ABC Limited, you are investing in fixed deposit or you are investing in market? You are investing in market. if you are investing in market, you should be getting 4% more. That is nothing but market risk premium. So what is added is market risk premium. Is it all right? Now try to understand beta. Is it all right? See, I am explaining you in a simple language. Beta measures the relationship between ABC Limited in our case and market. If the market is growing by 10%, ABC Limited is growing by 20%, then beta is 2. If market is growing by 10% and ABC Limited is growing by 30%, beta is 3. If market is going down by 20% and beta is ABC Limited shares is going down by 40%, beta is 2. It is what the security is changing divided by what market is changing. It compares the relationship between market and individual security. If the market increases by 10% and the security increases by 100%, beta is 10. And please understand, we'll be doing more in portfolio management, but beta is measurement not of return. It is measurement of risk. Of course, higher the risk, higher will be the return, but it is measurement of risk. If it increases, sir, by 10%, my return increases by 100%, agreed. But what if it decreases by 10%? Your share will decrease by 100%, and decrease by 100% basically means it will become 0. Is it all right? So, this is measurement of risk. Higher the beta, higher it is riskier than market. Please understand, if beta is 1, the share is exactly risky as market. If beta is 2, share is double risky as compared to market. What is beta in our case? 1.5. Our share of ABC Limited is 1.5 times riskier as compared to market. Please try to understand. If you invest in market, you should be getting 4% more. In this 8%, you are exactly taking a risk similar to market, or you are taking 1.5 times risk of market. You are taking 1.5 times risk of market. Then you should not be getting 4% but 6%. How 6%? 4% into 1.5. This will become 6%. Why 6%? Because 4% is a risk of the market, risk premium of the market. This is market risk premium. You are taking more risk as compared to market, then you should be getting more risk premium. Then this risk premium will be termed as a security risk premium. Please understand, you are investing not in market, you are not investing in Sensex, you are not taking position in Sensex. You are investing in ABC Limited, and ABC Limited is riskier than market. If it was similar to market, you should be getting 4%. If it is 1.5 times of market, you should be getting 6%. And this will become your required rate of return. That is RF plus beta into RM minus RF, which is nothing but 8 plus 6 is nothing but 14%. And 14% will become our required rate of return. Is it all right? So our required rate of return in this case, as per CAPM model, is 14%. I can use that over here. 3.3 divided by 14% minus 10% is 3.3 divided by 4%, which is nothing but 82.5 rupees, is nothing but valuation of ABC Limited. With the help of this fourth question, we have understood the concept of CAPM model. See, in portfolio management, we are going to go deep in beta also. Beta is exactly measurement of systematic risk, but right now it is not important because we are just solving some of the questions of security analysis. You need to mug up this formula, also understand this formula, also understand the variables of this formula. RF is risk-free rate of return. RM is market rate of return. RM minus RF is market risk premium. Beta into RM minus RF is nothing but security risk premium. If you understand all the variable, believe me, remembering of a CAPM model or expected rate of return, how to find out will not be absolutely difficult. This was C 1.1.4. So we have covered practically 3 questions in this particular session. We are ending this session, and in next session we'll be continuing with solving some of the questions of security analysis.